Hey everyone, Mick here, and welcome to Chapter 1, Episode 3 of The Art of Dirt, where we're going to talk about safety. And yes, I understand that safety should be first and foremost, but in this case, safety is third, and that's why I named the episode that. So, getting into safety, a lot of people are probably just rolling their eyes. There's probably a lot of people who just aren't going to watch this episode. Glad that you tuned into it. It is the one thing about trail building and trail maintenance that we really should observe. And during these week-long mountain bike skills camps that I'm a coach for, and it's targeted towards 6 through 12-year-old students, what's really cool is on Wednesdays of those, I get to teach a trail advocacy and stewardship day. And it's really great because the kids get to actually, they get to learn about the tools. We talk about, what it is to work on and maintain trails and why it's important, why their involvement's important. And they get to go out and they get to actually work on the trails. And we've done everything from brushing out trails, cleaning things up, even redigging new benches to fix eroded parts of trails. And the kids really enjoy it. And just like I said, back to some people are probably rolling their eyes and like, this is common sense. A lot of the kids are just like, let's not talk about safety. But safety is the one area when I'm going through stuff, before we go out, I stop everyone, I quiet everyone down. I say, this is time we have to be serious. I want everyone to listen because other people's lives depend on it. And it is true. Working out there, we are working with heavy tools, pointy tools, sharp tools. So let's take this McLeod, for instance, which like every kid wants to use the McLeod because, come on, who doesn't want to use a tool that looks like this? But you have these tines, you have sharp edges, they're hefty, they're long. And so you can seriously injure someone with this. And, it can be fatal. You don't want to fall on that chest first. I mean, that's just going to ruin your day. So that's one of the things when it comes to safety, we really do have to observe some safety. And it starts with us. And so in front of me, I have, a variety of personal protection gear that we're probably mostly familiar with, as well as a first aid kit. We already went over the first aid kit, episode 1, but I just want to reiterate it. Always have a good first aid kit, first and foremost. For any of this, go out, get yourself one of these. Learn how to use the stuff in it. If you haven't taken a first aid course, it's kind of just good knowledge to have. Starting from the top down, let's look at this, a hard hat. Now, I don't typically wear a hard hat. It's not required by all land managers, and it's not required by all advocacy groups. Some do require you to wear one while maintaining and building trail. And the only time I wear a hard hat is when I'm actually required to. Generally speaking, I work by myself a lot, and I'm very, I try to keep track of my surroundings when I'm working with others. The reason why a lot of organizations require you to wear a hard hat is because of the safety aspect. Someone carrying a tool too high or something like that, branches falling, things like that. But like I said, I only use them when I'm required. Certain things like when running equipment, you're required to wear a hard hat. But yeah, Z89.1 ANSI rated hard hat, something that you may need. Ear protection may be required if you're operating equipment like brush cutters, chainsaws, pounding stuff that you're just gonna have a repetitive loud noise. So a couple options. One, just a standard pair of earmuffs. And these things always drive me crazy. But, you have your standard earmuffs, wear them off the back like this, and I gotta take these off. Or just go get yourself some of the disposable ones. I keep a box of these around in a little tub in my truck that I keep ear protection, and then next up here, some eye protection. ANSI Z87 Plus eye protection, safety goggles, safety glasses. Keep your eyes safe. You only have 2 of them. I have a scar left-hand side right here, just right above my eyeball from a screwdriver when I was like 8, 9 years old, trying to put a spring on a mower deck and thunk, and it embedded there. And I've just been completely worried about my eyes ever since. So have a good pair of safety glasses, keep them with you at all times. Gloves, kind of an overlooked item. Again, we talked about them in the first episode with just keeping your hands protected from getting blisters, but also from getting cut up by brush and brambles and things like that. Helps if you're working with rocks, so you don't, they actually do provide some kind of a damping to the, if something rolls on them. So gloves are a good item to have. I like to have around. If you're working in smoky or dusty conditions, some kind of a dust mask. So this is an N95 mask. There's one left in here. I keep these in my, mainly just keep them in my truck. I don't really keep them in my pack. I was using these a few years ago during smoke season, where I was doing some surveying. So I was up surveying, it was really smoky, and I do have asthma. So I did use an N95 mask, kind of help with keeping the airway clean. We are still in COVID times, and so that means, some kind of a face mask may be required if you're working in groups or with other people around you due to social distancing restrictions and requirements for work parties. So a lot of, and that requirement can be as simple as just something that covers your mouth and nose. So a buff is something I really like to carry around. I have a few of these. I use them in the winter a lot, and I use them while I'm motorcycling. So I've always had buffs around, but you can just pull them up just like that. And, relatively simple. Like I said, they're great for keeping your neck warm in the winter and stuff. So, and you can do some pretty cool things with them to come over your ears, and, you can put your hats and helmets on. And so a buff is something, it's a cheap item. You can just, super simple to toss in your pack and just keep in there at all times. And then, the last thing that really, when it comes to some of the gear you might need, a reflective vest, a high visibility vest. Again, land managers might require it. Certain things you actually do, again, running equipment sometimes requires this. Or you're working in hunting season. It's just a good idea to have something that's high visibility. Let other people know you're around. It's just trying to stay safe. So that kind of covers it with the personal protective gear here. These are this right here. So your glasses, your ear protection, gloves. I keep an assortment of these in a tub, and I just went to Harbor Freight, bought a bunch of, cheap safety glasses, and I keep a bunch of these and some cheap gloves, not leather gloves, but just standard work gloves in a tub. So when I do work parties, I always have spares in case no one else has them, along with some rain. I used to keep rain ponchos, but not anymore, since I'm on the east side of the state, which is dry. So again, this is going to be your main stuff with that. This stuff over here, more optional, just depends on the organization, land manager. So this stuff always have with you. This stuff, not always. So we're going to go ahead and pack all of this up, and we're going to head outside, and we're going to talk about tools and how we should be safe with the tools we have. So see you outside. All right, here we are. We're now outside. We're in my garage, and I have some tools laid out in front of us. So when you show up at a work site, you're most likely going to have the trail leads going to group the tools together. So you're going to have your rakes with your rakes, your McLeods with your McLeods, and and so on and so on. And for the most part, they're going to probably be in a position that's kind of safe for people to pick up and walk around. So you're going to see them, as you see here, with the tines down on the rake, pointy side down, or if you have sharp edges and pointy things on each end, then you're probably going to have them on the sides like we have all the rest of these tools. And the more awkward tools like the Pulaskis and Pittocks and pickaxes, you're going to have laying down just like that. And there's a really good reason for all this. Like I said earlier, it's just kind of keep the pointy side down, sharp edges down in a way so if someone does trip and fall, you're not ruining their day completely. It also keeps you from, for instance, a rake. We've seen the cartoons where someone steps on the rake and whap in the face. That's what can happen. So when it comes to picking up tools, you know, we see a lot of people pick up tools, and what do? They throw it behind like this. Now the problem with this is as you move around, it's going all over the place. So you don't want to have the tool going around everywhere and, you know, being in a position where you're going to hit someone with it. Moving. So instead, when you're picking up tools, you're going to pick it up from the head near the balance point. So right here. And you're going to make sure that the tines or the sharp edge is in a position that's not, if you fall, you're not going to fall into it. And because you're now at this balance point, if you're walking along and you trip, you can just toss it to the side and it's going to go out. If you carry it, say, like this, so it's behind you, and you go to toss it out, you see that motion, how the front of it wants to go faster than the back of it. And that has to do with because the majority of the mass is here and how our wrists articulate causes that motion. So if you're falling backwards, you go to ditch this tool, it's going to ruin your day. So don't do that. Keep it forward. Keep the head forward. The other thing that you need to observe all the time is the head of your tool should always be in your visual. So whether it's in your peripheral vision, so that way you know where the head of the tool is all the time. And as you're walking around, if you need to turn around, talk to someone real quick, stop. You can turn around, you can talk, and the head of your tool stays forward. Again, if you have it pitched up here like this, turn around, now it's going all over the place. And that brings me up to just like, keep your distance from people, a couple tool lengths away from them, so you're not hitting each other with tools. It's fine. It doesn't hurt that bad if you get hit with this. Yeah, if it's hard enough, it's gonna, you could knock someone out. But that's something that, you just want to make sure you keep in mind. When we set down tools, again, we're going to set them down like I was just talking about how they should be displayed in the first place. When working with tools, don't do this. Don't come over. Again, back to that keeping the head of the tool in your visual at all times. Most of these tools we're going to be working down here anyway, but when we do start talking about, like, let's get this guy here. You've seen all of those videos where people are like, oh, you don't need to do that. You're just wasting time with it. You're wasting a lot of energy. You're picking something up to a point that, why would you waste this energy from here to here in the first place? You only need it here. And so coming down, it's always in your peripheral vision. You know where it's at. You can see what's around you here. If you're grubbing something really heavy and hard, thick roots, quick and easy. And when working around people, that's the other thing. Make sure you spread out. You don't want to be so close that you could potentially hit someone, especially with these long-handled tools. So that's really about it. Like, you just need to be observant of what's around you, keep the head of the tool in your vision at all times, and as we discussed earlier when we were inside, a lot of this is just common sense, but sometimes we have to be reminded of it. And if someone catches you in the act of doing something unsafe and they do just say, hey, leave your ego at the door at home. Just, if you're out working with other people, be mindful of their safety, and just, like I said, leave your ego at the door at home. Just say, oh, I'm sorry. I'll, make sure I don't do that again, and just go on and enjoy your day. Finish up your day. Everyone has a beer at the end, and, it's a great way to end of the day. So that's it, and this wraps up chapter 1. So we'll be going into chapter 2, which will finally start to get using these tools and doing some basic trail maintenance before going into chapters 3 and 4, which we're going to start talking about some of the theory behind soil and water and how it affects the tread and the bench before moving into actual, real technical trail building technique. So thank you for joining me, and until next time.